Welcome to the Institutional Review Board for the Social and Behavioral Sciences Research Education Talk on Tracking Study Participants. So today we're going to talk about the purpose of tracking study participants, clarify the difference between de-identified versus coded data for research studies, and look at some methods and tools for tracking. And then we're going to finish with going over some good record-keeping practices. If you're enrolling people into your research study, it's important to keep records of who was enrolled. An easy way to do this is with a subject log. A subject log is a list of people who have enrolled in your study. If you're a new researcher and you haven't had to keep track of study participants before, you might be thinking, why do I need a subject log? A subject log will help to track study participants so you don't enroll the same person more than once, and will help to prevent over-enrollment for your study. When the IRB is looking at your study and trying to decide if it can be approved, one of the criteria that the IRB must weigh is the risks to benefits ratio. The study's enrollment numbers affect the risks to benefit ratio. Low enrollment numbers can increase privacy risks to participants, and high enrollment numbers potentially expose more participants to risks than may be needed to answer your research question for your study. It's okay to factor in that some participants may withdraw after consenting when you're estimating the maximum number of participants that may enroll. Next, we want to clarify the difference between a de-identified study versus a coded study, since researchers frequently get these confused, and tracking participants is important for these studies too. In a de-identified study, the participants' identifiers have been removed and an individual cannot be re-identified by the research team. In a coded research study, the participants' identifiers are collected and the participant is assigned a study number. Only the study team has access to the key that links the participants' identifiers with a study number. The study number is listed on all the data collected from the participant, and identifiers are not listed with the data. Both methods help to protect the participant's privacy, but the coded method allows the study team the ability to track down the participant later. So the good news for a de-identified study design is that if you're using an anonymous link to an online survey, then the computer system tracks the number of participants for you. The bad news is that this design sometimes has problems with participants re-enrolling, especially if the study offers a form of compensation. If you have a coded research study, the good news is that your key can act as your participant tracking form. There's also a third type of study design where the participant agrees to have their identifiable information stored with the study data. Please just make sure that this plan to store the identifiers and the study data together is explained in the consent form so participants understand when they agree to join the study. Now we're going to look at some methods and tools for tracking. The type of subject log for tracking is flexible and open to adaptation for your specific study. If your study design is de-identified and you're using an anonymous link to an online survey, the participant log from the computer system may be the best tracking method. For another example, this one from a study where participants agree to have their identifiable information stored with the study data, a spreadsheet-style tracking log may be the best fit. The example that we're going to discuss in a bit more detail now is for a coded study where participants are assigned a study number to help protect their privacy. So here's an example spreadsheet for a participant tracking log that also acts as a key for the coded study. As you can see, participants are assigned a study number and their identifiable information, like their name and email address, are listed here. This log also records the date that the participant signed consent to join the study, as well as the dates that the participant was compensated for the study visits that were completed. Along with the participant tracking log for a coded study, there should be two separate study files. A study file which includes identifiable information and the key for subjects, and then a second study file which includes the research data. You can see here in this example that the identifiable records like the consent, email, and payment information are all stored in separate subfolders for each subject. The research data file also has subfolders for each subject that contains data from the study procedures like surveys, interview transcripts, and observational notes. No identifiers are included with the research data file, as all the documents are labeled and tracked by subject number. Again, the purpose of separating the identifying information from the research data in a coded study is to help protect the participants' privacy. Tracking study participants is an important part of record keeping for your study. All studies should have some form of subject log to track participants, although the type of log will look different from study to study. Please remember that if your study collects written consent from participants, those signed consent forms should be kept in the study records along with the subject log. Also, after your study closes, the study records should be kept for an additional 3 years after the closure date, and please check with UVA Records Management Department prior to destruction of the study records. Finally, if it's not documented, then it didn't happen, so please keep clear records and include notes to explain any unusual events that occurred during the study. If you have any questions about tracking study participants, please reach out to us. We are here to help you.